Welcome to ForexTV.com. Today is Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Kathleen Reddington with your New York Forex Market Buzz. The dollar is strong against the euro and the sterling, but has fallen against the yen. And now for a look at the latest headlines from the CUP News Desk. The U.S. Senate intends to vote on a revised version of the $700 billion bailout. The revised edition would add to the FDIC's insurance limit from $100,000 to $250,000. It could also add additional tax breaks to homeowners. The U.S. manufacturing sector plummeted below market expectations for September. The ISM survey had a reading of 43.5. It was forecast for 49.5, but production and new orders saw major slowdowns. This 6.4-point drop in the headline is the sharpest monthly decline since 1984. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, construction spending in the United States fell flat in August, coming in at 0% month over month. Spending was forecast to decline by 0.5%. U.S. crude oil stockpiles increased by 427,800 barrels last week. Gasoline supply grew by 901,000 barrels. Stockpiles increased more than expected. The EIA said the 4-week average of U.S. consumption is at 8.9 billion barrels per day, down 4.5% from the same period last year. The unemployment rate in the Eurozone rose 0.1 percentage points to 7.5% in August from an upwardly revised 7.4% in July. And the European G8 members and ECB President Jean-Claude Trichet, and as well as Eurogroup Chairman Jean-Claude Juncker, are planning to meet in Paris next week to discuss how to best deal with the ongoing crisis in the financial sector. Juncker said the result of the meeting is difficult to foresee. Today we are joined by Essiner of Reusch International. Hi, Omer. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
All right, the big news is still the bailout. The U.S. Senate is planning to vote later this evening. We're seeing a strong dollar now, but how do you think this will change based on the vote? And what if the Senate doesn't pass the bill?
Well, again, I think a lot of the dollar's fortunes continue to really waver in the wind here, depending on what happens on Capitol Hill. We saw the dollar on Monday fall as a result of Congress's inability to pass the bill, and I think we'd probably see a similar result if the House fails to accept or pass the bill by the end of this week. Again, I think the markets view the bailout package as a necessary evil in tackling some of the issues in the credit market, and I think without some kind of a bailout package, the broader outlook for the U.S. economy deteriorates considerably. So I think, again, if we don't get some kind of a resolution to this issue by the end of the week, I would expect the dollar to sell off.
All right, continuing on this dollar strength trend, the ISM manufacturing report came in much lower than expected, but after this release, the dollar actually held steady against the euro and the sterling. Is this strong dollar we're seeing, is it still the case of who has less bad news as opposed to us in the eurozone?
I think you're right. I think the ISM number was clearly negative any way you slice it. It definitely suggests, if you look at the employment subcomponent of the report and other anecdotal evidence, that we'll see probably a pretty hefty job loss number on Friday in the broader employment report for the U.S. So the fact that the dollar did not sell off as a result of that, I think, is really the function of two factors. It's first and foremost optimism that we could see some kind of deal on this bailout package by the end of the week. And I think, as you alluded to, it's due to the fact as well that the conditions in Europe have deteriorated significantly over the recent weeks as well. We've seen a number of bank failures, and even this morning we saw France suggest that they were considering some kind of a bailout package for their banks as well. So I think that highlights the fact that, again, credit market fallout is really a global phenomenon, and that has taken some of the weight off the shoulders of the dollar in terms of dealing with credit crisis-related bad news.
All right, and speaking of releases with little effect, Eurozone unemployment came in slightly higher than expected. It was at 7.5%. However, after this release, it really seemed to have little effect on the euro anyway. What is the driving factor for the euro now, and what is your strategy going forward?
Well, I think going forward, a lot of the majors are going to continue to take their direction in the very near term from developments regarding this bailout package. I think, to some extent, the economic fundamentals have been pushed to the back burner as a result of this this kind of looming announcement regarding the bailout package. But after the dust settles, I think we'll continue to focus on the fundamentals and the fact that Europe's economy is slowing significantly. You mentioned the higher than expected unemployment number. We also had a worse than expected PMI number for their manufacturing sector. So I think clearly the writing is on the wall that Europe's economy is most likely headed for a recession. I think combined with the ongoing turmoil in credit markets, that makes for a pretty good argument for lower interest rates from the ECB, and I think that should lead the dollar to continue to at least remain underpinned against the euro.
All right, now unlike the euro, we can kind of see what's moving the dollar-yen pair, and that's equities. And as equities declined in the beginning of the U.S. session, the dollar fell 0.5% against the yen. Based on this, what is your strategy for the yen going forward today?
For today, I think, again, it's going to continue to track equities. We've seen stocks pair their losses somewhat. Dollar-yen remains at the middle of its range right now, but I think if we do see U.S. stocks kind of claw their way into positive territory on some type of optimism regarding this bailout package, then I expect dollar-yen to probably end the session somewhere in the mid-106s, around probably where its earlier high was for dollar-yen, around 106.50.
All right, Omer, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This has been your New York Forex Market Buzz with Omer Essiner of Reusch International. I'm Kathleen Reddington. Join us later this afternoon, 4 p.m. exchange, right here on ForexTV.com.